Chapter 2, Conversation with My Son, Part 2, or Part 3. You loved Mama, but did not recognize it. A fearful conjecture flashed through my mind. If my son has read all my books, then he is well aware of my relationship to Anastasia during those few days after I met her. He knows how I insulted her, and even wanted to hit her with a stick. What child who loves his mother can never forgive such a shameful treatment? There can be no question that every time my son remembers this, he will think evil of me. Why did she give him my books to read? It would have been better if he hadn't learned to read at all. Or maybe she remembered to tear out the pages describing my despicable behavior? Grasping at the latter hope, I carefully asked Vladimir. So, Vladimir, you've read all the books I wrote, eh? Yes, Papa, I have. And did you understand everything in them? Not everything, but Mama Anastasia explained to me how to figure out what I could not understand, and then I understood. What did she explain to you? Can you give me at least an example of something you didn't understand? Yes, I can. I did not understand at first why you got angry at Mama Anastasia and wanted to hit her. She is very good and kind and beautiful. She loves you. And if you got angry at her, that must mean that you do not love her. But then Mama explained everything to me. What? What did she tell you? Mama Anastasia explained how you loved her very much, but did not recognize it. But all the same, even with your love that you did not recognize, when you returned to the place where people find it hard to live, you began doing what Mama asked you to do. She says that you, Papa, did everything your own way, the way that you thought was best. But when you remembered Mama, you wrote a book which people liked. People started writing poems and songs. They started thinking about how to do good. Now there are more and more of them. People are thinking about what is good, and that means good shall prevail on the earth. Yet people both criticized you and envied you all over the book. But Papa, when you wrote another book, and another, some people got even more angry at you. But others clapped their hands when you went to meet them. They understood what you wrote in the books. They felt the energy of love, which you still did not recognize, helping you write these books. And I was born because you very much wanted to see me, and so did love. You wrote the books, Papa, because you only wanted to make the world better for my birth. Only you were not able to make it completely better by the time I was born, because the world is very, very big. Mama Anastasia told me I must be worthy of you and the world. I need to grow up and understand everything. And Mama told me, too, that she has never been offended at you. She recognized at once the energy of love. Then Mama Anastasia read you a book written with letters of the alphabet that are not sad. She did not read you the whole book, but what she read, you were able to write with letters which people could understand, and you got most of it right. What book? What do you mean, Mama read you a book? What's it called? It's called Co-Creation. Co-Creation? Part 4, A Book of Pristine Origins. Yes, Co-Creation, and I love to read it every day, only not with your letters, Papa. Mama told me to read this book with different alphabetical letters. I love all sorts of happy letters. This is a book I could read my whole life. It tells about everything, and soon a new book will appear on the earth. And you, dear Papa, you will write this new book. I don't think you said that right, Vladimir. You should have said, will write this new book. But your 9th book, Papa, will not be one you will write. It will be co-created by many people, grown-ups and children. It will be a living book. It will consist of a whole lot of splendid chapters, paradise domains. People will write this book on earth with their father's happy letters. It will be eternal. Mama taught me to read these living and eternal letters and make up my own words from them. Wait, I interrupted my son. I have to think about that one. He meekly fell silent at once. Incredible, I thought. That means somewhere here in the taiga, Anastasia has an ancient book written in letters nobody else knows. She knows these letters, and she taught our son to make words out of them and to read them. She read me chapters from this book for my co-creation. The chapters about how God created the earth and man, and I wrote them all down. That's how it worked, according to my son, but I never saw Anastasia with any kind of book in her hands. Yet my son tells me she translated the letters of this book for me. I shall have to find out everything through my son. And so I asked him, Volodya, you know that in the world there are a whole lot of different languages. English, German, Russian, French, and many others? Yes, I know. What language was it written in? The book Mama can read, and you too. It's written in its own language, but its letters can speak any language, and they can be translated into the language you speak, Papa. Only not all the words can be translated, because in your language, Papa, there are so few letters. Can you bring this book to me, the one with all sorts of happy letters, as you put it? I can't bring you the whole book, Papa. I could bring you some of the letters, only why carry them around? It's better for them to stay where they are. If you wish, Papa, I can read you the letters right from here, only I can't read as fast as Mama. Well, read it as best you can. Volodya rose to his feet and pointed his finger out into space and began reading sentences from the chapters of co-creation. The universe itself is a thought from which was born a dream, which is partially visible as matter. My son, you are infinite, you are eternal, and within you are your dreams of creation. He read syllable by syllable. I followed the expression on his face as it slightly changed with each syllable, now showing wonder, now attentiveness, now joy. But when I looked into the direction that his fingers were pointing, there were no letters, let alone syllables, to be seen out there in space. So I interrupted this strange reading. Hold on a moment, Volodya. Do you mean you can see some kind of letters out there in space? Why can't I see them? He gave me a quizzical look. He thought for some time before saying hesitantly, Do you not see, Papa? Do you not see that birch tree over there, and the pine, and the cedar, and the rowan tree? Sure, I can see them, but where are the letters? Those are the letters, the ones our Creator writes with. He began to read further, his finger pointing to each plant or tree in turn, and at last I grasped this incredible phenomenon. The whole area of the taiga surrounding the lake where my son and I were sitting, and where I had sat many times with Anastasia, was filled with growing things. The name of each tree or plant beginning with a particular letter, and some were known by different names. Name by name, letter by letter, out came a syllable, then a word, and a sentence. It was much later that I learned that the trees, bushes, and herbs throughout the whole area of the taiga around the glade were not just arranged randomly, but that they actually formed living, growing letters. It was an incredible book that it seemed one could read ad infinitum. Infinitely, I guess. It turned out that these very same plant names made up one set of words and sentences if read from north to south, but a whole different set if read from west to east. The third set resulted if one read strictly around the perimeter, and the names of the plants made up yet another series of words, sentences, and images if one followed the movements of the sun's rays, which acted literally as a pointer. I understood why Volodya called these letters happy. In traditional books, the printed letters are very much uniform, but in this situation, the living letters, even those associated with the same species, were always different. Under different angles of the sun's illumination, they greeted man with their rustling leaves. Indeed, one could go on reading them indefinitely. But who wrote this amazing book, and when, and how many centuries did it take to write? Generations of Anastasia's forebears? Or later I heard from Anastasia this brief, laconic answer. For thousands of years, generations of my forebears preserved the letters of this book in their original order. I looked at my son and feverishly tried to find a topic of conversation on which we could reach a complete mutual understanding. Next section. 1 plus 1 equals 3. Arithmetic, mathematics. Of course, there would be no disagreements over an exact science like that. If Anastasia has taught our son to count, then a conversation on that subject cannot include any contradictions or superiorities. 2 times 2 is always 4, in any language at any time. Encouraged by my discovery, I asked hopefully, Vladimir, has your mama been teaching you how to count, add, and multiply? Yes, she has, Papa. Good. Where I live, there is a science known as mathematics. It is very significant. A lot of things are based on calculations and computations. People have invented a good many devices to make it easier to add, subtract, and multiply, though it would be much more difficult to get along without them today. I brought you one of them. It's called a calculator. I took out a solar-powered Japanese pocket calculator which I had brought, switched it on, and showed it to my son. You see, Vladimir, this little device can do a great deal. You know, for instance, what you get when you multiply 2 by 2? You want me to say 4, do you not, Papa? That's right, 4. But the fact that I want you to say it is not important. That's just what it is. 2 times 2 is always 4. And this little device can count. Look at the little screen. When I press the 2 button, the screen lights up with the figure 2. Now I press the multiplication sign and the 2 again, then I press the equal sign to find out what the result would be, and the figure 4 lights up on the screen. But this is a very simple arithmetical calculation. This device can count, in a way, impossible for human beings. For example, 136 times 1,136. I only have to press the equal sign and we'll find out how much it is. 154,496, Vladimir blurted out ahead of the calculator. After that, I began to multiply and divide 4, 5, and 6-digit numbers, but each time my son beat the electronic calculator. He named the correct figure immediately and without any trace of tension. The competition with the calculator resembled a game, but my son showed no sign of any real interest. He simply named the figures, all while evidently thinking about something else. How do you do that, Vladimir? I asked in amazement. Who taught you to compute so quickly in your head? I'm not computing, Papa. What do you mean you're not computing? You're telling me the result. You're answering the questions. I'm simply naming the figures because they are always invariable in a dead dimension. Don't you mean exact dimension? You may call it that, but it amounts to the same thing. Figures always come out invariable if you picture time and space as frozen. But time and space are always in motion, and their movement changes figures. Then calculations become more interesting. Vladimir went on to name some incredible formulas, or arithmetical operations, which turned out to be way beyond my comprehension. I only remember the formula was extremely long. In fact, it didn't really have an ending. He quite animatedly told me the results of the arithmetical operations, but they invariably turned out to be transitional. Each time after naming a figure, Vladimir would add excitedly, when interacting with time, this number produces... Hold on there, Vladimir, I interrupted my son. I don't understand this dimension of yours. 1 plus 1 is always 2. Look, I'm taking here 1 twig. I picked up a small twig off the... Yeah? I'm very close to the back porch. I'm right here. Do you need something? You can put that in the trash can.
No, this is going to be my toy.
All right. I'm just reading aloud. Do you need anything? Do you need anything?
Love you.
I love you. I picked up a small twig off the ground. Okay. And placed it before my son. Then I found another twig, put it beside the first, and asked, how many twigs? 2, Vladimir replied. Exactly, 2, and it can't be anything else, not in anybody's dimension.
The crows are looking for food.
Yep. But in the living dimension, the calculation is completely different, Papa. I've seen it. What do you mean that you've seen it? The calculation with this other dimension? Is that something you can show me on your fingers? Yes, I can, Papa. He raised his little hand in front of me with his fingers compressed into a fist and began to demonstrate. First, he unfolded one finger and said, Mama. And then a second finger with the words, add Papa equals, and finally, out of the third finger, me. You see? 3 fingers. In order for there to be only 2, I would have to take one away. But I do not want to take away any of these fingers. I want them to be even more. In a living dimension, that is possible. Neither did...
They're growing some more.
I know. Isn't it exciting?
They're 3-year-olds.
Neither did I want any one of the 3 fingers to be taken away. So long live this other dimension, this living dimension, as he puts it. And may the calculation increase. Oh wow, 1 + 1 = 3. Most extraordinary. Still the most incomprehensible thing for me remains the book of the taiga with its living letters. But
Like,
be more careful next time.